Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I've been testing with Adventure Eldlich, not because I think the Adventure Engine in itself is like an amazing fit for Eldlich, but just because the number of cards and the general philosophy behind it was a good way for me to get ready for when the Horus Engine comes out. So for those of you who aren't aware, in about 8 days, new cards are going to be added to Masterduel, which will theoretically increase the power of Eldlich a ton. I haven't played in real life Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't really understand a ton of how they work. But I understand that there's a bunch of these rank 8 monsters that are going to give Eldlich a ton of advantage. So right now my plan is I have this 7 card engine, the adventure package, which involves discarding cards to gain advantage and gives you an Omni negate. And the Horus package, which I'm planning to use when it first comes out, is going to be 8 cards. It involves discarding a bunch of cards and gives you access to rank 8 monsters, which give you like spell trap negates or send to grave monster negates, a bunch of stuff, and just a bunch of like general like power, ability to OTK, and so on. So this is a version of the deck that I'm probably going to have when the Horus Engine comes out. However, as I was testing it, I got a 5 game win streak. So I just kind of wanted to show off those games, show off this version of the deck, so that when the Horus Engine does come out, you'll be kind of ready with what my initial thoughts on the first version of the deck will be. So, yeah, I haven't played Masterduel in a while, but it was really fun to hop back in. Let's see. Do they have a negate? Nope. So here, this is going to kind of show one of the anti-synergies that this adventure package has with the Nadir package, which is going to be nice when the Horus Engine comes out because we won't really care about that. So you can't activate the Adventure Rite of Aramasir card until on the same turn that you activated a normal summon. Like normally that doesn't matter. We only have one normal summon in our entire deck, but so first game testing it out, I discovered that anti-synergy, but whatever. We're going first. We have Torrential Tribute, which is kind of going to be able to finish things off. But the nice thing that both the Horus package, when it comes out, and the Rite of Aramasir package has is you want to be able to OTK your opponent really quickly, set up a bunch of board presence. Yeah, so there they tried to do, Mecha Phantom Beast Auradon, but we just destroyed everything, made the resources a lot weaker. So my point is, Rite of Aramasir is going to be a really good follow-up for next turn. All right, the general strategy against Rescue Ace is you have to destroy this guy before he sets 4 spells and traps to their back row. Like, imagine if Eldlich, every time you summon, could set, like, 4 cards to the back row. Even if it's just, like, Huaqueros and Conquistadors that get destroys and banishes. Like, pretty ridiculous. So, yeah, just destroy him right away. That's kind of the goal. Bucephalus going to try to draw a card. Okay, not bad. They have an ability to special summon him anyways, so okay, let's blow up the board again. No, thank you. Oh, for a second I thought they were going to be able to special summon it again. These are the same card. Oh no, they're not the same card. They look similar, but that would have been funny if he was able to do that. Whatever. Here I don't use evenly matched. It's not necessary. You only have 1 card to banish. It's better to just use it as fuel for Eldlich to come back. However, another anti-synergy. So what I should have done is I should have activated Rite of Aramasir first, because you're going to see the adventure package has an effect where if you summon while all the adventure cards are on the field, then you also get to like get a draw and stuff, but whatever. Eldlich comes back. I mean, to be fair, if he had a Bestial in hand, Bestials can only banish. Yeah. So there he just immediately surrenders because we have the adventure package, we have follow-up, we have an Omni Negate, we're going to bounce his Diabellstar to hand, we're going to swing with that like 7,000 damage because we're going to have the Griffin, we're going to have the token, we have Eldlich Yeah, so we would only need 500 more damage to kill him. Pretty fun. All right, which deck are we dealing with here? Snake Eyes, Rescue Ace. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what all these duels are. The first day or two after the new season starts, even down here at Diamond 5, Diamond 4, people are playing the strongest meta decks possible. Okay, yeah, this is a fun one to show because it's just like we kind of have everything. We have grass, we have Cursed Eldland, which is going to grab us an Eldlich and send transaction rollback to grave. Okay, so this time we don't get to interrupt them. They get to set all their traps. See, this is what happens if you don't blow the sky up multiple times, but whatever. They're popping off. Yeah, I really like Paleozoic Marilla. I've actually moved it up to 3 in my deck just because it's like you either send a rollback, which can copy any of your other really strong traps that you've like either already used that turn or milled off of like Kakalos or Grass or whatever. Or if you already have a rollback engrave, you can send a powerful trap like Elemental Burst or something. It just makes your choice of milled cards a lot more consistent. It's not once per turn, which is a great rule. Anytime you have a card that's not once per turn and it's good, you definitely consider running it at 3. Okay, they have the field spell, so they get to recycle. I wish Eldlich had something like that, a field spell that lets you recycle your traps to draw a card. Whatever. The Horus Engine actually is going to allow us to recycle our banished cards too, but okay, this is pretty straightforward. Eldlich, they don't have any Ash Blossoms in hand, so we're just going to grass. We're going to get that Cursed Eldland off the ground, bait out any Called by the Graves. They don't use it. Yeah, so here, I think he knew that I was going to banish his entire field face down, so he's just destroying his own cards to get them in the grave instead. Uh, but yeah, it's not going to matter. Battle phase, rollback, evenly matched. You can do this so often in these versions of the deck. And so now instead of having the Horus Engine, now we start getting our Faithful Adventure online. So now we have the Wandering Griffin Rider, which is an Omni Negate. And another card that we're using is Trap Tantalizing Tune. So normally it's sort of like a Lure of Darkness. You discard a normal trap, draw 2 cards, which is great if you throw a rollback, an evenly matched if you're going first, an Eldlixir, because you can banish that to get extra draws. Like there are a bunch of normal traps that you want in the grave, and there are other normal traps that you can put up with having in the grave. So it's pretty easy +2, and it can also recycle your Eldlixir cards. So what's another cool tech I'm using? And now look at this. He had like a pretty good board, and now he has absolutely nothing. Yeah, poor guy. Omni Negate, multiple interruptions. I was going to banish his entire graveyard, or try to, anyways, the Fiend Comedian. Yeah, ridiculous. Okay, duel number 3. A 50 card rescue. What the? Why were they all Rescue Ace duels in a row? Whatever. I mean, Rescue Ace is pretty popular right now. It's taking over the tier list, certainly. All right, what do we got? Going first. Oh yeah, this was a duel because it's just like we just have everything, which you want to have in a deck like this. I'm running 1 Floodgate, which is Skill Drain. Like I kind of think of it the same way as like Vanquish Soul or Flu or any of those decks that can run Dimension Shifter. It's like if you don't need your graveyard, you might as well run Dimension Shifter. It automatically wins you games. It's the same with Eldlich. If we have a deck where we don't care about monster effects, we might as well run Skill Drain because there you just instantly win games. Like I don't enjoy running too many floodgates, especially because this meta is so diverse. Like there are a lot of floodgates that like you want to run rivalry, but then you run into a bunch of decks like what's the one with the cats that all like the XYZ cats. Like there's a bunch of decks where they don't care about rivalry, or Labyrinth, for example, or you want to run Goes and Match, but now there's a bunch of decks that all run the same that are all fire or something. But then you want to run maybe Tikaboo, but first that hurts your Eldlich engine, and second you have a bunch of decks like Tier Elements and Branded where they don't care about it. Summon Limit is great going first, it's not very good going second. At least that's the theory. They banned Summon Limit in the real life card game, so maybe that's a floodgate I need to try out more. But yeah, in this version of the deck, just this one floodgate. Okay, we have pretty normal setup. Actually, I'm going to be honest, this is a pretty bad setup. Okay, so what do we have? We have a rollback engrave, which is pretty good. We have a trap trick, which can do any sort of a board wipe. And we have Fiend Comedian, which could end their turn single-handedly or mill a bunch of cards to get our rollback online. So, like, this could be good, but this is probably about the bottom of how strong our deck can be. Like you saw the top, which was the previous duel where we had grass and we had our Adventure Engine, we had Skill Drain, whatever. In this duel, yeah, this is probably about as weak as it gets, which is not bad. Luckily, we're going against Snake Eyes, who, like, our deck is, like, the best suited to beat, which is kind of what you want, right? When you have a deck like Snake Eyes, which is the objective Tier 1 deck, and you're not the Tier 1 deck, you want to build something that objectively can defeat it. So there, I don't know why he destroyed the Eldlich. Like, he should have destroyed one of my face-down traps that might be an interruption to force it to come out early. But if he did that, then I would have tried to banish his field, blah, blah, blah. So here, he's using his Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon to summon a couple of level 1s back, and after that he's gonna like start doing a lot more link climbing. So first I activate my Elixir to kind of bait out if he has an Ash Blossom. He doesn't have an Ash Blossom, so then I can activate my next trap. So I activate Trap Trick and then Fiend Comedian, because I want Fiend Comedian to resolve later in the chain, you'll see in a second, so that I can determine what I set off of Trap Trick based off of knowing whether or not it resolved. So here I call heads. So if I had called tails and gotten it right and banished everything, then I think I would have probably set something else, like a Dogmatic of Punishment or something to just destroy these two cards. But because I got it wrong, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that I have a good interruption, so I'm just going to set a Torrential Tribute. Blow up the cards that summon, and this is kind of the standard strategy against Snake Eyes, right? You Torrential Tribute after they use Flamberge Dragon to summon an extra couple of monsters. Here, it has an effect to either add to hand or special summon. So I kind of have to Torrential now, because if he chooses to just add it to hand, I can only use it when a card is summoned. So he would be able to do this and then like make whatever, some other monster that he wants to make that he doesn't care about getting blown up or to get advantage or something. So I'm just going to blow it up now. But because I do that, he can choose to have the Poplar special summon. So it is what it is. I'm going to take like 2,000 damage. Bang. But that mill with Fiend Comedian was great. So first of all, we got our Tantalizing Tune, which we can use to recycle some of our cards. And we already had our Transaction Rollback, so we can use any interruption that we want. We got a little bit more Eldlich Engine online. Yeah, solid. Special summon an Eldlich. Or we can have our Eldlich use it as fuel, rather. Hey, how's it going? Cool. Cool story. Adventure Engine? Yeah, a lot of people just kind of surrender once you see the Adventure Engine online, which is great, right? You want to have something where it's like, okay, this is way too much follow-up, because that's kind of a problem that I sometimes run into this version of the deck, is like a lot of the duels are really grindy and take a really long time because you don't have quite enough follow-up to kill them right away. All right, last duel against Rescue Ace. So I'm actually enjoying having the Adventure Engine in Eldlich. I think you don't need to have like 3 different engines in Eldlich. Like, I don't think you need an Adventure Horus Eldlich deck, because the strength of this deck is always the trap cards. at least the way that I build it. So you just need one engine that gets you like an interruption going first and allows you to OTK going second. See, look at this. Rollback, Omni Negate. So we can't use our Dogmatica section of the deck, but we won't care about that once we have the Horus Engine. Okay, so what do we got here? We got an Omni Negate. We've got our transaction rollback. We milled an Elemental Burst with Ecclesia, which means we can actually destroy their entire board whenever we want. And we have a little bit of Eldlich Engine for follow-up for next turn. Sure. Okay, so they're going to deal with the Omni Negate. Instead of letting him set it to the back row, I'm obviously going to shuffle into the deck, because then if I get another Rite of Messier, then I can like special summon another token and search out the, or maybe I'll be able to grab the Griffin Rider at some point, whatever. Okay, they had a pretty good going second hand. So first they got rid of the Omni Negate, and then they're going to wipe out my back row. So I'm just going to, because I still have a rollback and an Elemental Burst, like there's nothing else I would really send. So I'm just going to get a little bit more Eldlich Engine online so I have more follow-up for next turn. Okay, now what are they going to do? Okay, they're going into their Rescue A section. They've got Turbulence. See, this is an area where I just love having Elemental Burst. You only run it at 1 because you only ever want it in the grave, but because we have 3 Paleozoic Morillas, we can get it in the grave super consistently, along with obviously Grass and Kit and all those other things. So here, like normally, you blow up the level 9 before you can set all this stuff, but all of the stuff he sets is either a quick play spell or a trap, which he can't activate the turn he summons it, unless they have that one Rescue Ace monster that lets you activate a single trap that turn. But I don't really care. I'm just like, do whatever you want, and I'm just going to blow everything up. And I'm glad I do, because he wastes his extra deck card, Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, which is going to like allow him to do a ton of combos, special summon forever. I'm just like, yeah, that's a pretty good place to just destroy everything. Bye. All right, they still have a little bit of follow-up. Trying to anyways. Yeah, my token didn't even get destroyed. Yeah, I'm just going to bounce one of your cards to hand. We've got both of our, yeah. So there I had both of my Eldlich Engine online, so I was going to get a Conquistador. I was going to get an Eldlixir. On their turn, I would destroy the one monster that they had, summon my Conquistador, normal summon Ecclesia, who's going to search out Dogmatic of Punishment, and I think that's even enough to kill them. What is that, like 35? So 2,500, 4,000, 6,000, 6,500. Okay, so it's like almost enough to just straight up kill them right there. Plus we have, yeah, so they were done. We had way too much follow-up. Yeah, so that was the Adventure Engine. Let's kind of go through this version of the deck I have right now. So the total Adventure Engine is 2 Water Enchantress, 2 Rite of Messier. So the Water Enchantress just searches out your Rite of Messier. You can mill it to the grave, banish it from your hand to, search out the Rite of Messier, or banish it from your graveyard. And this is going to set your Fateful Adventure, and it's going to special summon the Adventure token. And your Fateful Adventure is kind of the heart and soul of the deck, where it searches out your Griffin Rider, who gives you your Omni Negate. It attaches your Draco back, which allows you to bounce one of their cards to hand. Once it's destroyed, it is kind of gone, but it's nice to set up an Omni Negate, set up an interruption. It's able to get searched by milling things to grave. It's solid. For the rest of the deck, if you've been watching this, it's pretty standard. Because we have more monsters, I'm cutting Lord of Heavenly Prison just down to 2. And I'll probably stick with 2 once the Horus Engine comes out, because one of the big benefits of Lord of Heavenly Prison is obviously that it's a really easy to summon big monster, but we won't need that as much in the future. 2 Eldlich, 3 Eldlixir, who are going to be able to special summon your Eldlich and also search out your monster traps. Plenty of the monster traps themselves, because we have more ways to get advantage off of like discarding cards. I actually have an extra Huaquero, and also because we can shuffle back our banished cards. We have with the Trap Tantalizing Tune. I'm okay with having more Eldlich cards because we can keep our engine going a lot longer if we have more of these and we just keep recycling these guys, for example. Um, Foolish Burial of Goods and Paleozoic Marillas are all great because they can send to grave exactly what you want. You can either send a rollback if you don't have a rollback yet. If you already have a rollback, you can send your single elemental burst, which destroys the entire field. You could send a very specific interruption, like an Ice Dragon's Prison or a Karma Cannon, if like that's what you need, because their cards are indestructible or something. If you don't have any Eldlich Engine online, all of these cards can send a single Eldlich card, because these all start searching each other and give you bodies to help you kill your opponent. They're just fantastic. Grass, obviously, is a killer. It's a big reason why we're able to run a 60 card deck, because Grass is able to send like 15, 20, 25 cards from our deck to the graveyard, and a lot of our cards have graveyard reliant effects, especially rollback onto basically anything, along with our Eldlich engine, along with the Horus engine, which we'll get soon, and then the Adventure engine right now. We don't care a ton about our extra deck. We just have a couple of pot cards, which can get us a draw 2 or get an excavate. It's possible that when the Horus engine comes out, because you can make XYZ plays, like maybe I'll care enough about those XYZ plays that we'll replace these with like, I don't know, Called by the Grave or something. So instead of us drawing more cards, we can more consistently stop them from, gaining advantage with these other things. I don't know, I'm not sure yet. The Nadir package is great. You have 2 Nadir Servant, a single Ecclesia, and 2 Dogmatic of Punishment. Going first, you can send a Kalos to mill 5, or you can send a Garura to draw 1 if you have like a hand where you need more traps in your hand or something. Going second, you can obviously send an Elder Entientis or a Malong to bounce a card or destroy a card. You normal summon her, and she's going to search out Dogmatic of Punishment, which is a great trap. It can obviously destroy a card, and then you can destroy a second card or get a draw, get a bounce, whatever you need. You can send Tribrigade Bucephalus to send Garura, obviously, to get a draw. So it's a nice package. There's a little anti-synergy here, but remember, this deck is mostly preparation for when the Horus engine comes out. Let's see. Triple Tactics Thrust. So because this deck and the upcoming Horus engine is going to have a lot of more monsters in them, I'm not running a Reasoning anymore. Reasoning is a card where it relies on you not having that many monsters in your deck, so you can send a bunch of your spells and traps to grave. Unfortunately, with this many monsters, we do want we're not going to be able to mill to grave as frequently by having 3 of these. So instead, we just have a couple of Triple Tactics Thrusts, which means going second, we can search out grass a lot more consistently. There are a lot of decks that activate monster effects during your draw phase or standby phase, for example, where you don't even need to bait anything out. But obviously, we have enough effects we can activate on our turn to try to bait out an Ash Blossom or something. So, yeah, it just makes your grass more consistent. You can also search an evenly matched, whatever. Up next, we have Trap Tantalizing Tune. I have discussed it already. It's like a Lure of Darkness where you discard any normal trap, and then you can draw 2. It's just another way to get extra consistency. In a world where we have to get rid of our pot cards, for example, it kind of can take up that space. If you send an Elixir to grave, you send a Transaction Rollback to grave, you send an Elemental Burst to grave, you're actually, even if you're sending a Paleozoic Marilla to grave, you have ways of plussing off of that. Additionally, it has the second effect where you can recycle your banished normal traps, which means that your Eldlich engine gets to go a lot further, for example. It's a cool tech. I've enjoyed trying it out. We have a single Cursed Eldland just because it's really good going second, but you never really want to have it going first. It makes our engine a little more consistent. You can search out either an Eldlich, or if you already have an Eldlich trap, and then you can send one of their cards from the field to the graveyard, summon him back by sending this guy, and all of a sudden you've got your Eldlich engine really popping off. It's a nice card. I only have it at 1 because of, it's more for going second than going first, but whatever. Um, Torrential Tribute, board wipe, great versus Snake Eyes right now. No further explanation. Fiend Comedian is obviously going to either banish your opponent's graveyard, which usually in this meta against Rescue Waste, Snake Eyes, Branded, Tearlaments, even like Pearly, Labyrinth, like there's a bunch of good cards you want to banish in their graveyard, and it's usually going to be like 10 or 15, which if you call it wrong, you're still going to mill a bunch of your cards from the deck to the graveyard. Again, another reason why I enjoy running the 60 card version is because it makes Fiend Comedian possible, because when I've run it in 40 card decks before, you mill your entire deck out, and you can't activate this if like you only have 20 cards left in your deck and they have 21 cards in their graveyard, for example. Single Elemental Burst, you probably don't need it. Like, you probably can get away with having Torrential Tribute and stuff, but it's just so fun, man, to just blow up their whole back row instead of needing to grind through it. The triple Paleozoic Merlas make it a lot more consistent. Evenly matched, obviously, it's great going second. Banish your opponent's entire field. They don't have that many Omni Negates right now, usually, especially the top decks, Branded, Labyrinth, Rescue Waste, Snake Eyes, whatever. They at most have like one Omni Negate, which you can usually deal with. Also, if you mill it to your grave, plus a transaction rollback, you banish their entire field face down, which happens a ton with this deck. Like, it's very consistent to be able to do that. Trap Trick, all the traps that I'm running, I run at either 2 or 3 because of Trap Trick. It makes all of your traps way more consistent. If you only mill like a Trap Trick to grave using like a Kit Kalos or something that you send off of Nadir Servant, you can Trap Trick into anything. If your opponent hits you with Feather Duster, you can Trap Trick into a transaction rollback. Rollback copies Trap Trick to set up any interruption you want. Great card. I have it at 3. Eldlich, we've already talked about. Dogmatic of Punishment, we've already talked about. Ice Dragon's Prison, it's great for a non-targeting banish. It's great versus Snake Eyes. You can banish both their Flamberge Dragons. It's great versus Labyrinth. You can banish their Lovely and their Lady. It's awesome. Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon is great in Eldlich. It's a board wipe usually. It at least gives you a turn to do stuff, which when you have a deck that runs things like the Adventure package, you're able to really put the pressure on them by just skipping your opponent's turn. Transaction Rollback we've talked about. It's fantastic. Solemn Strike, it's a necessary 3 of in any sort of trap back row deck. It's like other normal combo decks run Ash Blossom because it's just like a really quick interruption. We run Solemn Strike because all of our traps are a little bit slower. You have to set them, and on the next turn you can activate them. But the thing they benefit from is that those traps are then a lot more powerful. So an Ash Blossom is just kind of a negate, but Solemn Strike is a negate and a destroy anywhere. Like, in order for combo players to get that kind of effect, they either need like a really powerful boss monster that they have to summon a couple times to get to, or they need like Gamma, which requires them to run like a straight up brick, like a 2500 vanilla that doesn't do anything. So yeah, it's a fantastic card. Always run it at 3 if you can. Skill Drain, we just have it at 1. I was saying earlier in the video, like, if you have a deck that doesn't really care about monster effects on the field, in the same way that like Vanquish Skull doesn't really care about its monsters in the grave getting banished, or Exorcist or whatever, like, you do kind of need to run Skill Drain, or they kind of need to run whatever, Shifter. Like, it's just super powerful. Like, it wins games on its own. Obviously, if you don't like Floodgates, you can cut this out with whatever, but you know, our Eldlich traps, where you have this extra one because we can recycle our engine a lot more consistently, so we can get through it a lot more. Also, because the Horus Engine is going to mean that we get a lot more pluses off of discarding. Like, I've seen some profiles where they run a lot more Eldlich traps because they like being able to discard and then banish to, recycle things. Going into the extra deck, we've talked about Elder Entity Entist, we've talked about Kikalos, which can mill 5 to grave. Guru is a draw, Malong is a bounce. Chaos Angel, you can make this with any 2 of your Golden Land traps to have a unaffected 3500 level 10, which allows you to go into your level 10 XYZ plays. It banishes a card. whatever. We also have Constellar Pallades, which is 2 level 5 light monsters. Again, from the Eldlich monsters, it gets you a bounce. It can go into Zeus. Your level 10 package, which is your super heavy dreadnought, which can be made from Eldlich, Lord of Heavenly Prison, and Chaos Angel to really quickly kill your opponent, 2,000 damage. And then after that, you rank up into this guy who can go up to 6,000 damage and attack multiple times into your opponent's monsters. And then if you didn't manage to kill them, you can just make Zeus off of one of those guys. Finally, a couple other things that we have. We have Imduck, which is nice to just be able to link off a single Huaquero, a Light Charmer to be able to link off any combination of like a Huaquero and an Eldlich, or maybe 2 of these guys if you don't have anything else in your extra deck anymore, whatever. Dark Charmer, it requires you to use your Lord of Heavenly Prison as a resource, but if they have a really important dark monster in the grave, that's a way to get, advantage off of stuff. And finally, the Blackluster Soldier. So BLS can be made with any monster if it's made with a level 7 or higher, which includes the Griffin Rider, for example. Then it can be unaffected by, it can't be targeted and can banish when it destroys and blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about Bucephalus. Okay, so now that we've talked a bit about kind of the deck, I want to go into what I envision being different for the Horus Engine. So the Horus Engine is going to be about 8 cards that we're going to add. We might add more, obviously, but we'll just take out the Adventure Engine, which is, those 7 cards. And then for the 8th card, I think we'll try to take out, like, either a Trap Trick or a Paleozoic Marilla. Let's take out the Paleozoic Marilla, just because Trap Trick is like can instantly end your opponent's turn sometimes. So now we have 8 cards in our extra deck. Let me quickly. Okay, so here are kind of the general Horus cards that we want to add. First, we're going to have 3 of these Imsetis. They basically can get your entire engine going, search stuff off. Your King Sarcophagus, we're going to run 3 of these, which are necessary to keep the engine going, can special summon a bunch. A Happy, which I'm really excited about. You can shuffle a couple of your cards that are banished back either into your hand or back into the deck. So if you're worried about your Eldliches getting banished all the time, if you want to be able to recycle your engine more consistently, like I'm really looking forward to this guy. It's kind of a really cool piece of extension that I'm excited we get to get. And then Duamef, which is going to allow us to draw a lot more cards much more consistently. So from what I understand, it's like it protects our cards from being destroyed, like our Horus cards from being destroyed. So we can Torrential Tribute without fear. We can discard a bunch to get all our cards in the grave, to get a bunch of advantage that way, which is a reason why a number of decks that like the Eldlich Horus combination run a lot more Eldlich traps because they like being able to discard them to get advantage. And we have 3 of these guys who can get searches. It's a level 8 sort of deck, which allows us to make rank 8 plays. It seems like I'll have to obviously test it out, but between 3 of these guys, 3 of these guys, 1 of this, and 1 of this, it should be enough to make our deck really interesting. And then also we want to run SP Little Knight, just because like everyone's going to be running it. It's like supposed to be pretty strong, gets a couple of banishes per turn. So with that in mind, the changes that I foresee us making to the deck, you already saw how I envision us starting off with that little 8-card package. Obviously it might undergo other changes. And then for changes to the extra deck, so we want to make room for 4 cards. So I think we're going to get rid of Blackluster Soldier. We're going to get rid of the Dark Charmer. That doesn't come up very often. Constellar Pallades doesn't really come up. And probably either the Malong or the Elder Entity Entis, I think. Honestly, the Chaos Angel doesn't come up that much. One of these. Let's just say we'll get rid of the Chaos Angel. So then we're going to put in So just pretend that this is SP Little Knight instead of IP. And then we're going to have three XYZ um, rank 8 monsters. Let's see. Whoops, I had it the correct way before. And those three level 8 monsters are going to be, let's see, Hope Harbinger. Nope, that's not Hope Harbinger. Where is it? Here we go. Hope Harbinger, which gives us a spell trap negate. Dingirsu, which is going to be able to send any card from their deck to the field. And the Zombie Vampire, which is going to be able to mill a bunch of cards and special summon a monster for extra extensions. So this is kind of the version of the deck I foresee us having when Horus comes out in 8 days. Obviously, I'll do some testing with that deck to kind of show off the combos and see if maybe we need to add more Horus cards, maybe less Horus cards. And really quickly, one other thing I want to show. Let's see. So to the deck. So I watched some guides online for people who play in IRL, and this is sort of based off of that. Basically, these would be the three Imsetis, these would be the two other level 8 cards that let us either draw cards or recycle our banished cards, and then the three magical circles are kind of the stand-in for the three gold sarcophaguses. And this is an interesting deck where it's basically like pure, like they have a little bit more Eldlich cards. Like they have this guy because he's a level 8. They have two more of the Cursed Eldland just because you want to be able to grab even more of your Eldlich cards. A couple more Eldlixir cards to just keep them coming back, keep them coming back. They're running Summon Limit and Anti-Spell Fragments, which I think they could get away with in the TCG because, like, you have a side deck, you can side these out for other cards. And basically, they were doing more of a hand trap version where instead of all of these guys, they were running like Ash Blossoms and Imperms and stuff. But my philosophy is like, we should be a back row deck. We want these slower, more powerful traps instead. But maybe Horus is going to be more combo heavy where it's possible to do that sort of thing. I don't know. So this is like an alternate version, which is more not relying on the 60 card grass variant. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Otherwise, I hope you have had a good time watching, and I'll see you in the next one, probably in like a little over a week when Horus comes out. Peace.